Watch me how I made this little shelf in just 2 hours. Here's the drawing and start the timer. So for this project I used some Douglas fir boards I had kicking around in my shop for quite a while now. Then I bring it over to my miter station and cut off all the material I won't need for this project. Then I rip cut it to the right width to make sure it fits through my little planer. When you do rip cutting, you want to make sure that you use the right saw blade. In this case I use the Freud Diablo 10-inch 20-tooth rip cutting blade, and so far it served me always well. Here we are at my little thickness planer. Usually you should do the planing before you cut it to width, because if the board was warped on the table saw, you might lose or you might not even get a right angle at the edge of your board. Also, even if you had a right angle on your table saw, you might lose that after planing. But in this case it was okay because the boards are getting cut into smaller pieces. And here's a quick tip for beginners. If you have to cut several boards that have all the same length, use the first board as a reference for all the boards that come after. It will save you a boatload of time because you don't have to measure every time. You will have noticed that I only cut a few millimeters deep at the beginning before I cut through the whole thickness of the board. I do this to reduce the amount of chip out on the surface of the board. And finally we can go over to the workbench. I use a rubber mat during the sanding process to avoid scratches on the surface. For this project I sanded to grit 180. I think that's good enough. Yeah, don't forget the edges, but make sure you don't round the edges. And here we are, ready to assemble. I use clamps to hold everything together. The clamp on the top here I only use to align the boards. I use screws in this case because it's quick and easy. If that would be for a customer, I probably would use dowels instead. I make little pinholes first to make sure the drill does not slip. I also countersink every hole because Douglas fir has the tendency to crack. And the first box is done. Box 2 and 3 I'm gonna make a little different. I put only 3 sides together and then I screw it to the first one. The reason is that I have easier access to the screws that hold everything together, but you will see in just a few seconds. And here we go, first 2 boxes coming together. And right here you see what I meant when I said I want to have easier access to the screws in the middle. And you can see it is quite a lot of work to work with 3 drills at the same time. So maybe next time I'm gonna pre-drill and pre-countersink all the boards so that I can save some time during the assembly process. Alright, up to box number 3. Almost done with the assembly. To me this is always my favorite part when I make something, to see all the parts coming together. Because even with a drawing, you never know. Sometimes, especially when you work with wood, the result can be very unpredictable. And here we are, last few screws. So for the finish, I chose Minwax Ebony Oil-based stain. It looks great on Douglas fir, and also because it's very dark it makes the screw heads not that visible. I would also highly recommend to use a pre-stain first before you apply the stain. It really improves the final look. The reason why I didn't use pre-stain here was just that I had nothing in stock and the shelf was just for myself. You want to wear gloves when you stain something, and also I would always put something underneath, like a piece of cardboard or a foil or whatever you have, because you don't want to ruin your workbench. Now I wipe off all the oil that is left. So yeah, that was pretty much it. Now let's stop the timer and see where we are. 2 hours. I guess that's not bad at all. And here we are, 24 hours later, after all the oil is dried out. Let me know what you think. And thanks for watching.